Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing the secret your ex keeps from you. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Check out my socials for extra content. The links are in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing the secret your ex keeps from you. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you will likely feel confused and paranoid. In today's podcast, I'm discussing 3 secrets that your ex likely keeps from you. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is when they decided it was over. So when we're talking about secrets that your ex kept from you, the first important one to speak about is the fact that if they were to tell you if, when, how, why they came to a decision they wanted to end your relationship, this is not necessarily likely to be the truth. Now, it's very important for me to say at the beginning of today's podcast, and this goes for all 3 secrets I'm going to be speaking about today. Of course, I don't know your specific situation. I don't know the unique circumstances, and therefore I can't say for certain that in your instance, every one of these elements has been a secret, a lie, an untruth, whatever you might want to consider. This is a generalized sense. This is for me speaking for many years to dumpers and dumpees, and therefore this is a generalized concept. So although I think it is quite likely these secrets will apply to you, or certainly some of them, I of course can't definitively say that your ex is keeping this secret, your ex has lied about that. So please don't get into an argument with them. Don't use this as a reason to raise voices and create more drama, because that is not going to help you get your ex back. Okay, so whether or not this does fit your situation, whether or not this secret is actually something that they deliberately kept from you and they lied, this is not something you should be bringing up and having a disagreement about, because if you want to get your ex back, you need things to stay as calm and relaxed as possible. But I do think it's very important to pass on the information that I've acquired from speaking to dumpers and dumpees over many years. And point number 1 is a major secret, and that is that a lot of dumpers won't actually tell you, the dumpee, when exactly they decided it was over. Now, one of the reasons why they might not actually tell you this is because they can't perhaps definitively know the time and the date they came to that decision. The reason for this is it's very unlikely that they came to this decision at the moment they ended a relationship. It's not likely that they came to a conclusion your relationship needed to end and then instantly told you their thought process. That is not likely. What is much more likely is this is something which they've been considering for many weeks, if not months, and therefore they can't definitively say exactly when they came to that decision. It's a thought process which they probably went back and forth across. This is something which you can't hold against them dumpees if you challenge them and say, well, why, when, how did you come to this decision? If they say, well, no, I just don't know. Well, maybe there is an element of truth to that. But after speaking to many dumpers, I can say that some of them will have somewhat more of an idea than others. In particular, if there has been an action which caused them to lose romantic emotional attraction. Now, attraction can be gained and lost in different ways, but when an action is the cause, then this can be somewhat more sudden. Perhaps you cheated on your partner, they find out about it, and they decide to end the relationship. Even though they don't necessarily come to that decision instantly, they probably are going to come to that fact in their mind during a certain period of time that they could pinpoint if they actually wanted to tell you. However, if, for instance, you became complacent in your relationship, if you weren't treating them right, this is something which could have lasted a very long time in their mind before they came to that decision, definitely to end your connection. Whether or not they tell you, and if they tell you they can't remember, they don't know, or maybe they give you an exact date, the reality is you will probably never really know. Maybe they don't even really know themselves. And ultimately, does it matter per se? Now you might think, yes, it does matter. Yes, I want to know when they came to that decision. I want to know if we've done this, that and the other since that decision. How long have I been living in this almost death row of a breakup about to take place without even realising? Well, sometimes you will find out, sometimes you won't, and sometimes you will be told, and sadly, it won't actually be the truth. But if you want to get your ex back, you need to put this behind you. You can't hold this against your ex. You can't use this as a reason to have an argument, have a disagreement, fire questions at them, quiz them over and over again. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help them. It's not going to help you get back together. So as annoying as it might be, and although you might recognise this as a secret that you know you've never been told, or perhaps now you're just realising, actually, I never did get back closure. Unfortunately, this is something you're going to have to try and get past, and you can, dumpees. You can get by this. This does not have to be something which holds you down. You can use this as something to think about and go, okay, yeah, no, that's not great, that's not ideal, I'm not happy about it, but I'm not going to let it define my relationship, my breakup, and the aftermath, especially if you want to reconnect. Because if you do hold it against them that you don't know the truth, or you don't believe what they're saying, then sadly, you won't get your ex back. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel. And point number 2 is why they are ending the relationship. Now today we're talking about secrets that your ex keeps from you. And point number 2 is something which can be very frustrating for dumpees, because maybe you are told something and you just don't believe them, or perhaps you're not told anything at all. But this sadly is fairly common. Dumpees don't realise, especially initially, why they were dumped. Maybe they were told, maybe you don't believe them, maybe it was never told or presented to you, and you're just trying to figure it out in your mind. Some dumpees will put the pieces of a puzzle together, and many months later will come to that conclusion. But sadly, even if you do that, you will probably feel a lack of closure. And this is something that lots of dumpees say to me. I feel like I'm missing closure. I need closure. I don't know why they are ending the relationship. So it's not just about when they came to that decision, but actually why. Now going back to point number 1, we used the example that perhaps you cheated on your partner, and it was around that time, not long after they came to a decision that they were going to end things. Well, if you cheated on your partner, you can probably figure it out. This might be why you are sadly the dumpee in the situation. But a lot of you didn't get yourself in that position. A lot of you didn't cheat on your partner, certainly not being found out and used as the reason. So therefore, why were you dumped? Maybe you ask your ex, maybe at the time of a breakup you say, why are you doing this? Why can't we carry on? Why are you upset? What have I done? Is there someone else? All of those questions are likely to be met with answers that you don't find appropriate. You either don't believe them or you're not satisfied. Now, as a dumpee, this can be very, very frustrating, and it can negatively spiral you downwards, but you need to try and stay as calm and stable-minded as possible. Whether you want to get your ex back or not, you can't let this hold you in a sense where you're imprisoned in your frustration, your upset, and your rage. Because if you do, you won't be able to push forward. Not only won't you be able to get your ex back, but you won't be able to find anybody even better, either if you are feeling angry, frustration, and bitterness. Now, I know some of you dumpees will think, well, how can I get my ex back if I don't even know why I was dumped? How can I rectify things if I don't know the reason it took place? And yes, there is some valid thought process there that you are thinking, but if you keep pressurizing your ex for an answer, and you're either not getting it, or you just don't believe what you're being told, you must stop this, because pressurizing your ex, quizzing your ex, is just going to frustrate them further. And even though we might not know exactly why you were dumped, what I can say is that if you keep annoying your ex post-breakup, you're certainly not going to get them back. The best thing you can do in most instances is to implement my version of a no contact rule, which, as a general basis, is to never contact your ex again unless they contact you first. Of course, there are caveats to the rule, depending on your unique specific situation. So why does your ex-dumper not tell you exactly why they're ending the relationship? Well, sometimes they're not actually sure themselves. It's just a feeling. It's just something deep inside them that they feel doesn't allow you both to move forward in a positive way through into the future where they will feel satisfied and fulfilled. Maybe they realise that they're not going to feel that fulfillment, but they can't actually pinpoint why. And maybe for that reason they actually say they don't know why they're ending a relationship, or maybe they come out with a reason which clearly sounds wrong and strange and random because they're almost plucking it out of thin air themselves. They realise it's probably not actually the reason, but they feel that they owe you an answer, and because they don't know it, they just want to say it. Sometimes a dumper will be protecting themselves or someone else as for the reason they're ending a relationship. Sometimes, unfortunately, there is someone else in the picture. Not often, okay? Not as often as some of you dumpies might fear, but sadly sometimes there is someone else in the picture and they might want to be protecting them. They might want to protect themselves, they might want to protect the privacy or whatnot of any other individual. Now please don't feel anxious, dumpies. This is very unlikely to be your situation. This is not common, but it sometimes takes place and is sometimes a reason for why it's a secret, for why they're dumping you, why they're ending a relationship, because they don't want to tell you the truth, because they don't want to involve anybody else. Now, maybe there isn't another person, maybe they weren't cheating on you, maybe they don't want to monkey branch across, but perhaps a friend or family member has been speaking to your ex, and that is why they have become the dumper, because they have been influenced by someone else, and once again, they want to protect that person. They don't want to bring them into the situation that you all find yourselves in, which is sadly very dramatic and very painful, and hence the dumper might come out with some random reason, a lie, or just simply say they don't know why they're ending the connection, but they just feel that it needs to end. You might never know exactly why your relationship has ended, and even though you might not be told, you can still get your ex back. Don't feel that you need to know to rectify things. If you behave in the best possible way moving forward, you have every chance of one day getting your ex back, even if you don't really know exactly why you were dumped. Ultimately, if a dumper doesn't tell you or tells you a lie about this, it's because they don't feel comfortable communicating effectively. And perhaps that was a reason as to why your relationship has broke down, even if it wasn't the definitive reason. Maybe they felt they couldn't talk to you. Now that might be true, that might be false, but it's just something to bear in mind. Be calm, be stable, take your time, don't do anything which is too sudden, because if you speak your mind, you might say something that you regret, and try to remember that tomorrow is another day, and the sun will always rise after darkness, and you can get your ex back, even if things look very, very tricky right now. And even if you don't, even if you give it your best shot and don't actually manage to reattract your ex, if you behave in the right way, you will find someone even better. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is whether you will see them again. So today we're speaking about secrets that your ex keeps from you, and this is one of the biggest, whether or not you will ever see your ex-dumper again. Maybe they've told you that you will never see them again. You'll never see me again. We will never speak again. Well, listen, I've heard this a million times before, and people can still get their ex back, even if you hear those words, which sound so frightening. Now, I'm not suggesting that you chase your ex, absolutely not. You must respect their wishes. If they say they don't want to see you ever again, you must never contact them again unless they contact you first. But what I would say is I've heard lots of dumpers who have got into a situation where they've said those words, but then eventually reach out to their dumpee. So what we see here is people are speaking in the moment. That's what we do. We speak in the moment, we feel in the moment, we live in the moment. Yes, what they are saying in that moment is likely true to their heart, but it doesn't mean it will necessarily be what they feel 6 months down the line. We don't know. Maybe it will, but perhaps it won't. So try not to be too freaked out if you hear your ex-bedumper say something like, "We're never going to see each other again," because ultimately, they don't know, you don't know, nobody knows. But what if your ex-bedumper has said to you, "Right, look, the relationship's over, I can't do this anymore, I can't take this anymore, but we will meet up a month from now and we will have a conversation to speak everything through and sort things out." Now you as a dumpee might think, okay, I understand that, that's good, that sounds great. But then unfortunately, a month rolls round and you don't hear anything from your dumper. Now why is this? Well, unfortunately it's because, like I've just said, people speak in the moment. And even if your dumper had authentic feelings to try and arrange to talk things through with you or to sort things out, sadly, that is not guaranteed. It's not a contract. So even if you've been told this, you need to recognise it might not happen. But even if it doesn't, it might then happen a few months later. Just remember that nothing is set in stone. And therefore, we have to consider point number 3 about whether you will see your ex again. That's a secret, because nobody knows. Maybe in their own mind, they have an idea that they want to do it this way or that way, and perhaps they're telling you the opposite to try and calm you down, perhaps, to try and create a situation which they feel is the best. But even if they do it that way, they still don't know how they will feel a few months later. Maybe your dumper has promised to speak with you a month or so down the line because they want to try and calm things down. Now, although it's not good that they might be lying, I suppose you can understand somewhat why they might be saying it if things are getting very, very emotional and very, very dramatic. However, even if they're thinking, "I'm just going to say this, I don't really mean it," when we get a month, 2, 3 down the line, we don't know how they will feel. And that's the point. We don't know, they don't know, no one knows. So when your ex-bedumper tells you whether or not you will ever see them again, nobody knows. And although they might have an idea at that time, it is not set in stone either way, for good or for bad. The future has yet to be written. And that's why point number 3, about whether or not you will see them again, is definitely a secret that your ex keeps from you.